Hello, boxing fans around the world. Thanks for joining us once again here on Talk and Fight for another episode of the Friday Night Panel. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Graham. How are you doing today?
Awesome. We have a very special guest joining us, Sheila Stafford, who's going to start her own show on Talk and Fight pretty soon, having a lot of things to say about women in boxing and the scene in general. And she hails from, I believe, Atlanta, so she'll have a lot of things to say. I know there's a fight coming up in Atlanta in June, I believe, actually. But anyway, we'll see what she has to say.
I can't wait. It's gonna be fun.
All right. There we have her. Sheila, how you doing?
Amazing. I'm excited.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We just happened to mention, I don't know if you heard or not, that there is a fight going on in Atlanta. I was mentioning it on the news segment of the Talk and Fight show today, but I can't remember the name of the promoter. But anyway, I do know it features Avril Mathey, a young female fighter. A young female fighter that I'm following.
You mean model?
Oh yeah.
Well, she's 7-0-1.
Yeah, she is. I profiled her a long time ago on the show, and I told everybody to watch out for her because she's mean, man. She's mean in that ring. She knows what she's doing. She's got great IQ and she's got heavy hands.
Yeah, she does. She's a powerful puncher. I've seen her.
Yes.
Don't let the looks fool you.
No, I know.
I'll try not to.
You know what? I guess it makes it easier when she looks so nice and beats you up. You know,
yes.
You don't feel as bad.
Oh, you're gonna feel it.
You're gonna feel it, but you're not gonna feel bad, I guess. You know? She just puts that smile on and everything's okay.
I know.
So Sheila, before we get into the upcoming weekend of fight, why don't you tell us a little bit about your upcoming show on Talk and Fight and a little bit about yourself, and then swing it back to us, and we'll continue peppering you with questions.
Well, my name is Sheila Stafford. Stafford Boxing, the making of champions. I will be doing the Stafford Boxing Report May 30th with promoter Malinga all the way from South Africa. That's a big 6-hour difference. I'm really excited about having her on so we can see how the culture is with women in the boxing industry over there in South Africa. And I'm excited to even have her. About myself, I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I can tell you right off the rip, I love boxing. I love to fight. If I would have had an opportunity to get in that ring, you all would be talking about me. I would have dominated everything about it. I'm telling you.
Well, finish the story then. What happened? How come you didn't go pro?
Well, by time I saw Layla Ali fight, that's when the bells really started ringing. And I was like, oh, if I was younger, I was a little bit at age at that time, and I had other things going on. So I didn't get my opportunity. I could have seen it helping me too, as well as the direction that I was going in my life. So I do see how the sport of boxing can help the youth. And that's also something that my husband and I are doing. We have the Stafford Boxing Club Incorporated, a nonprofit organization where we reach out to the at-risk youth by using the sport of boxing. So I'm real excited about that too.
That's awesome.
Just in Atlanta, or are you spreading your wings and getting those clubs across the country?
Well, right now we're just going to concentrate on Atlanta, one step at a time. And if it comes out that way, then sure, why not?
Awesome. Go big or go home.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
All right, let's talk about our upcoming fight this weekend. Hey, before we do, there was a heavyweight fight last night. I just wanted to touch on briefly because we're always talking about the heavyweight division, men's. Sorry, Sheila, but in the men's, and we wanted to see it unclogged. So Otto Wallen flew over to America to fight in Detroit last night, and won. I believe he's number 11 ranked in the heavyweight division, but he was up against some decent competition out of Detroit. As part of the guys at Salida Promotions. So they put on a really Yeah, pretty big fight.
I profiled this all in a week. What was it? A couple of weeks ago. I
Yeah,
profiled
yeah.
all the young guys to watch on that card.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great promotion, actually. So Otto Wallen, came over and
Yep.
unanimous decision win over Booker. Wow, that's awesome.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, right. Booker, you think he weighed in at 21 pounds heavier than Otto. So
Yeah.
I was going, wow, that's a big difference. But Otto Wallen proved he's no walkover.
Oh, that's
anyway. So sorry. I agreed. It's up to you now. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry about that.
It's okay, man. It's okay. Honestly, guys, Big Time Boxing returns to Barclays Center in Brooklyn as 5-time world champion Gervonta Tank Davis, boxing's hottest young attraction, defends his lightweight title against unbeaten #1 ranked contender Rolando Romero. I profiled him yesterday on my show. This kid, 14-0, he's stepping it up, man, getting in the ring with Davis. 3-time division world champion Davis. He's big things, man, and he's a serious step up for this guy. It's going to be a great fight. There's some great fights on this undercard as well. If you get a chance to watch it, man, definitely. Graham, what are you thinking about this fight? To be honest,
going into it, I really like Tank as a fighter, but the shenanigans he's been pulling off, the things he's been saying, I don't like. And I've said that before about other fighters. I think when they go over that edge, they make the sport of boxing look a little silly. And I didn't appreciate the whether it was intentional or not, the push from behind off the stage went rolling. So I think it was a bit embarrassing, quite frankly. And I've said this before about press conferences and these stare downs and these shenanigans. I don't think it looks good at all in boxing. Anyway, I digress again. But still, having said all that, I would still lay my bet on Tank to win that contest. It's going to be close, though.
I think it's going to be a good battle, man. Honestly, Davis, Star Mayweather Promotion stable. He's added another highlight filled year to his resume. Top in 2 Showtime pay-per-view events. In June, he stopped previously unbeaten Mario Barrios to capture a 140-pound title and become the 3-division world champ before turning away top lightweight contender Isaac Cruz in a successful December 5th title defense. So, then we got also another member of Mayweather Promotion stable, Romero, who's 14-0 with 12 KOs. And he backs up his brash talk with power in both hands. And guys, when you're watching this guy's training video, he has been training so hard to literally come to the body and just wreck him. Romero won an interim title in August of 2020 by earning a close but unanimous decision win over Jackson Martinez. The 26-year-old followed that victory up with a pair of impressive knockouts, triumphs in his last 2 fights. He dominated slick contender Avery Sparrow on his way to a 7th-round stoppage in January, and then recently dropping Anthony Yigit 3 times on his way to another 7th-round stoppage in July of 2021. So this is going to be a big fight. Can't wait to see this one. But we have Lara is also on the undercard here. Well, sorry, he's the co-main event, taking on Gary O'Sullivan for the WBA World Middle title. Then, guys, there's a lot of young up-and-comers here, man, that are on this card that I've been following. Adrian Benton, Arnold Gonzalez, Mia Ellis, Eduardo Ramirez, and Jesus Alejandro Ramos. These guys, they can really put on a show, so it's definitely going to be a good fight from the beginning, man. It's going to be a good card right from start to finish. I'm picking my man Davis to take it. I think it's going to happen late, like 8th or 9th round, but I think he's going to come up with that vicious uppercut that he knows how to use so well. I think it's going to come into play, and I think he's going to put Romero away. Those are my thoughts for the weekend, man, of fights, to be honest. There we go.
I actually have to agree with you on that one.
Thank you.
I have to agree with you on that one because it's usually around that round that he'll usually put the opponent down.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's kind of tricky, though, because his opponent is, like you said, he's been training extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
He's been talking that talk. Got to back it up now.
Yeah, you have to back it up. Romero, man, he's got those heavy hands. And he's got that one punch ability, knockout power, and I've seen it. And honestly, I like the kid. I profiled him and followed him for a while. I like him. He's got, great ring presence. He's got a good IQ, and he knows how to throw down, and he ain't afraid of, getting in there and battling. And it's gonna be not an easy fight for Davis. He's gonna have to work for this one. And if Romero comes out, hey, that's a huge win for him. Improving to 15-0 and taking away a belt from Davis, which would be a excellent notch on his belt for sure. But I believe Davis is going to win this one late, and I think it's going to be that nasty little uppercut he's got.
Well, Romero has said he will knock out Tank in round one. That's it. That's what he said. That's what he said. I do appreciate the bravado, but he's got half the number of fights of Davis, and I think age and experience will win over this battle.
Definitely. Like, Romero's a young kid still, so
yeah,
he's not he's not that old yet.
I think he's about to get a learning L beside his name.
He's about to get a learning.
Yes.
He's about to get a learning for sure.
Yes,
for sure. But don't you gotta look out for him, man, because he's his last two fights he's finished them late, right? Like, he has the ability to be brought later into the rounds and finish guys late in those rounds. So the kid has stamina. We're gonna see if he goes to 12. He has been 12 before against Jackson Marinez, where he was a unanimous decision. He went to 12 rounds, but it shows he's able to finish in those late rounds. So hopefully Davis is ready to go, and hopefully his tank is full. Right?
Well done.
Hopefully his tank is full, man. That's it.
That's really good.
Shout out to Carl from Last Bell Boxing. Yes, I think Tank to jump in with Ryan Garcia next is what needs to happen.
That's a good call.
That's a great call. Carl from Last Bell Boxing over in the UK. Great show. Check it out Thursdays. Yes.
So tell us more about your youth program, Sheila.
Yeah.
I'm curious how that works.
Okay, so it's a 12-month program that we're going to have for the kids. It's a mentorship program. And like I mentioned, within that mentorship program, we will have them doing some boxing with the coaches, because how you train, we can use boxing as a teaching about life, self-esteem, learning how to communicate, learn how to have that aggression that a lot of the kids have because of their home life. And they don't have a way to have that aggression and turn it into a positive channel. They don't have the resources. They don't have access to the resources. And it'll be a safe place for them to come. We believe that education is extremely important, along with the physical activity for them. So if we put all that together, because we're trying to get the community to support local talent. If we change one youth, that means we change a family. And from that one family, we change that community, because there's so much crime that's going on. And we want that crime rate to go down. And in order for us to do that, we have to make sure that the youth have a safe place to go. And see, that's one of the issues that we're having. In certain places, the demographic, the youth don't have access to what other youth have. They can't get to it, or they don't have the income for it.
Right.
So that's where we come into play. So we're that gap that they're missing. So when they come in, we're going to make sure that their lives are changed one at a time. That's all we can really do. Develop their coping skills and self-discipline. That's really important.
I'm a firm believer that children in combative sports is a form of exercise, and a form of some sort of activity, it really does teach them. It teaches them how to set goals for themselves. Focus. Boxing requires intense concentration to be successful in it. So it teaches them how to focus. It teaches them self-discipline, to instill respect. It builds their confidence, social development, and educational. They can turn that all around and put that into their schooling. Being able to, social development, being good with all these kids in these classes. The respect, being able to respect authority. Like, you learn all this stuff when you take these combative sports, and you can see it in these kids, man, and it's great. I think it's a great thing. It treats. I've seen parents put their kids in combative sports instead of medicating them for things like ADHD, because it helps them focus, helps them concentrate. There's so many benefits for it, and I'm glad that you're providing that kind of opportunity to children that don't have that opportunity. That's a great thing that you're doing, Sheila. To be honest, I commend you for it. That's great things you're doing.
I appreciate that.
What ages are you starting them at?
We will be starting at the age, we're going to do middle school and high schoolers. And the reason why, because they're going through their puberty stages at that time. So a lot of times when the youth goes through that puberty stage, they are, of course, not feeling themselves and their self-worth. They're like, why am I here? They start questioning themselves. Besides the different activities that are going on in middle school, because that's usually where it starts. And then with them making that transition to high school, a lot of them don't do that very well.
Right.
Because that's older kids, the next grade, a new environment, new people. So they feel alone and they feel stuck. And that's a reason why a lot of the youth act up in class. They give the teachers a hard time because, like I said, they just don't have that proper channel. And classes are overcrowded.
Yeah.
And these teachers, they don't know what to do when they're feeling overwhelmed and they're not having that help that they need. They're not getting it. So that's why we're going to start off with middle school and high school. I think that's going to be perfect for them because they're at that development stage. And that's really where we need to get them.
So is this a program that you're taking on the road? Are you taking people into schools to teach boxing?
Well, right now, what we're doing is we're actually renting out a space right now where I interned at this past semester. I got a grade for it at Mustafa's Boxing. It's here off of Glenwood Road in Decatur, Georgia. So we're renting out a space right there. So that's where we're going to start at. And what we're going to do is we are going to go on field trips so we can get them out of the atmosphere, their environment that they're used to, so they can see how other people communicate, how other people live, and just allow them to experience just something different that they would never experience because they would never ever go to where we're going to go to. We'll go to different schools, just the capital here in Atlanta, just something that's going to clear their mind and give them some type of hope and give them the encouragement that, look, you can do this. This is where you can be. Just because you're in this type of situation right here, just because you're having a difficult time, that's not going to last forever. We have to start building these kids up and speaking life into them. And that's something else too. Life and being positive, a lot of them don't know anything about that. They just know what they see, what they've been through, and what they hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the elements that you're speaking of, we see on television all the time. I don't mean the negative side per se. I remember a show, it was out of Baltimore, and I can't remember the name of it. It was on years ago, but young chap, he gets out of prison and he goes into his community and he sets up a boxing gym, and he invites all the young people basically to just come hang out and feel welcome. And so that was a central theme in what was actually a police show. But a central theme of it was that the community can heal itself by being positive and extending these messages into the young people that are, going to grow up to be the next generation. So I think what you're doing is incredibly commendable. And we've heard lots of stories from lots of boxers who've said how boxing has changed their lives, how they're running the streets, in and out of prison, whatever. Even very famous boxers, quite frankly, we've had on the show who've admitted to getting into trouble, and boxing's turned their lives around, and here they are. So if you can start with them when they're young, and as Mike was saying, get them focused and get them energized about something that they're truly passionate about. And like we taught both men and women, mainly women, who said the minute morphed from a physical kind of routine to stepping into the ring and actually punching someone and getting punched in the face, it was life-changing, life-altering. Right, Mike? I mean, we've heard that time and time again, especially from young women, how it went from physical fitness to, wow, I can actually do this. I can actually belt someone in the face and get belted, and it feels good.
It's when you start hitting those new levels of your boxing skill, is you start getting better and better. The punches start coming cleaner and cleaner. Next thing you know, you're like, man, I can get in the ring. I could do that. I could easily.
Right.
Do that. And then you start training for it, and then you get in the ring, and you're like, you know what, man, this is awesome. Why? You have an outlet. You have an outlet to come and take all the frustrations of the day and leave it in the gym and go home relaxed, stress-free, which will give a better home life. You got all these people, they come home and they just unload their stress from the work on the family, and the family unloads their stress. This is boxing is a perfect outlet. Any combative sport is a perfect outlet. You get to leave everything at the gym. You come with it, you drop it off, you go home feeling better. And you know what? You'll live longer, you'll feel better, you'll be healthier mentally, physically. There's so many benefits to it.
And you're right. I used to take boxing classes, and I used to almost punch a hole in that bag. Seriously. So I know firsthand that it really does help. And I felt a lot better. I really did.
I find when I hit the bag, it takes a lot for me to get angry after a day of that.
I can see that.
A lot for me to get angry. You go and hit the bag in a gym weekly. You're carefree. You're relaxed. You can tackle life's problems and life's obstacles so much easier on a clear mind after hitting a bag. It's great. I love it. I'm a firm believer in it. I push my kids into it. They loved it. What more can you say about it? It's a great thing.
It helps your memory too.
Definitely.
And I know I need a lot of that.
You recently graduated. What did you get your degree in there, Sheila?
Sports administration with a minor in entrepreneurship.
So you're set.
It was a journey. I would tell you, I started at the age of 44. So I was at a school for over 25 years. So when I started off taking 5 classes. That lady tricked me. She tricked me.
She did. Yeah, she did.
She got me so good, and everything was brand new. It was like I was starting school from the beginning. Like this was my first time ever. Everything has changed, but it's been a blessing because I had always wanted to have an education, and I didn't have one. Unfortunately, I was one of those kids that misbehaved a lot and didn't take her education seriously. And I didn't have the support that some kids have. So that's why I can understand what a lot of the youth is going with or coming from, because I too, as well as my husband, we both have experienced and we've done some things in life, so we know what they're going through. And that's another reason why, because we know the consequences. And there was consequences with my actions because I did not take my education seriously. You don't get that respect because you don't have that education. And then the type of jobs, if you're working, it's not really up to par. So I really have a passion for education. It was a hard journey, but it was well worth it. And I'm just glad now it's over. I can breathe.
Put that piece of paper up on the wall.
Oh yes, my husband got me a plaque.
Wow, well done.
That's awesome.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
What is the female boxing scene like down in Atlanta?
I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is what's been bothering me about this female boxing. The female boxing is very difficult. The reason why it's difficult, I'll give you an example. I can be on the computer and I'll just try to do some research. It's not as easy as if I put in a male boxer, I'm gonna get that information like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you put in a female boxer, you don't get any type of information. I mean, you'll get some information like Instagram, Facebook, BoxRec, or something like that, but that's pretty much all you get. And I believe this falls back on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is, okay, we all know a manager is the number one person who's responsible for that boxer.
Right.
So that goes with nutrition, even taking part of the matchmaking, the training, everything. So you need to be a part of the social media content,
Mm-hmm.
the SEO, when you go in there and search. And it seems like when it comes to the female boxers, we're not getting any of that. It's like the female boxers are the ones that are posting all the content, the information, going live if they can. And I really feel like that's very unacceptable. There's a lot of great female boxers out here, and they should have more airtime. We should just know more about them. It's almost like they're hidden.
I know exactly what you mean. It takes me a lot of work to research the females that I interview and profile on my show. I know exactly what you mean. When you're looking for a female fighter to look up, you literally have to go through so many different angles, finding people and backstories, and it's so much work. Where you type in a guy's name and it pops up and it's got his whole history and a story and a news article about him and stuff about high school and all this kind of, but it's very hard to find the female stuff. I totally agree with you. They're not getting the right representation. They're getting left to doing their social media up to themselves. Their managers and promoters aren't promoting, and it's sad. There's a lot of great females that are going unnoticed.
But we've certainly noticed a healthy change in perspective, though, over the past year and change, nearly 2 years now since we've been doing this podcast. Mm-hmm. And we've had since the beginning Scarlett Delgado have her show, The Female Fist. Natalie Brown Sugar does her show. You're about to launch your show. So there's an awful lot of content on our site devoted to women in boxing. Mike, as you know, profiles an awful lot of women every single week. It is hard work, and it is very personal. So who you bring to the show, for example, we're going to find out about women fighting in South Africa. We have a South African host, David Rajuli, and we just streamed very recently, for the very first time, his boxing match out of Netherlands.
Big win.
Yeah, he actually lost, but we know he won.
He
But
won in
yeah,
my eyes, the way I scored it.
yeah. So I'm just saying, there's an awful lot of support, I think, bubbling up from the fans who appreciate the work and now the experience because it was 2012 when females were finally allowed to box at the Olympics, and in those 10 years, we've certainly seen a growth. I think exposure at all levels in both amateur and professional ranks. You've seen the emergence of Jake Paul promoting the amount of surrounding the Katie Taylor fight at such a high level. They were headlining Madison Square Garden. So I think there's a lot to be said positively about women in boxing. Mike's often said it ultimately will just be a boxing match. It won't be this male versus female kind of, where are you going to? I'm going to the boxing match, and it won't really matter who's headlining. It'll just be a great fight. And well, they'll all be great fights, but I'm just simply saying I think we're getting to that point now. Now, Sugar was on the other day though, and she was lamenting the fact that there've been some mismatches of late in the female ranks that drew her attention to, if you will, bad management and or bad direction. Where that young woman out of Mexico, Alejandra Aya, she went over to Glasgow to fight Hannah Rankin, but she had already been beaten by Savannah Marshall a few years prior. And after that fight, it was determined by doctors in the UK who notified the Mexican Boxing Authority that they had discovered a tumor in her brain when they did an MRI scan. So how she was allowed to fight, and Sugar's got a great point, how she was allowed to fight. Yes, she was willing to fight. That's fair enough, of course. But should she medically have been allowed to fight is the point.
No, medically she shouldn't have been cleared. You got to save a boxer from themselves sometimes. Boxers will get in there and fight when they shouldn't. It's in them. It's bred into them. It's that drive, that intensity to not quit, never give up. You got to save boxers from themselves. She definitely should have not been cleared to fight that fight. Maybe she ran into money problems. Maybe she found a way to talk, the people into letting it happen, bribe, who knows? But there's going to be an investigation into it. We're going to see what happened. This is, this doesn't do anything for the sport. Having people, end up in comas and then die after getting into a match, like there's something wrong there. It shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening.
You're right.
What do you think, Sheila?
Honestly, Carl says, I actually agree with this. UK leading the way in female boxing. Yes, I think they're doing justice for the females, man, big time. The UK, they rep them really well. They rep them really well. Definitely.
Well, if we can eliminate the Bob Arams of the world who have these very negative things to say about women's boxing, soon enough, and have more Eddie Hearns over here on this side of the pond, who will take women in the ring seriously, much more seriously than any of these older cats. You'd think that I think it is happening. I think it's happening on a localized level. I think it's rising up through the ranks organically in North America. I think within a few years we'll reach that level of professionalism that they have now in the UK. Thanks, Carl. But the reality of it is it's going to take a few more years. We can certainly go toe to toe on a day-to-day basis, but I think to get that foundation properly laid and then to build upon that foundation is going to take a few more years still. And I'm talking about the professional ranks.
Yeah, we'll still won't.
I could see that.
And certainly programs like yours, getting young people involved from the very early ages, middle school, high school, getting them excited about the sport again. Because I was explaining to someone the other day, and I think you might agree with this, boxing had a huge amount of success during the Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, Mike Tyson kind of era, but it got taken over from a popularity perspective when the WWE came along, and then MMA came along, and in particular UFC. And I think it's coming around full circle now, where boxing has received more of the spotlight in recent years, mainly due to specific characters in the sport, as opposed to the guys who think they own the sport. So I think I'm holding out that there's going to be a big change, positive change, in the way we look at women in the ring. And I think, and I've said this before, Mike's agreed with me. I think the way Ebony Bridges fought last year, I think that was the great chasm that we crossed over, because she was going into it. Everyone was thinking she was just a bikini model, but no, she fought like hellion, quite frankly, and fought well. As a matter of fact, she fought so well, I forgot who won that one. But
you know what? Honestly, I was so impressed with her determination to continue on with that eye swollen up the way it was.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you that there's no way she was able to see out of that. I think that was, hey, doctor, come over and do this. And her coach was pinching her arm to tell her when, like that eye was shut. That eye was shut. Somebody was telling her when that finger came across. Yeah, I see it now. No, you don't. You don't do nothing. Because for the whole next round, she walked into that fist again, man. But that drive and determination to get in there and just perform like that, you would have seen some men tapping out from that. There would have been some corners that would have thrown in towel and been like, no, he's done.
Mm-hmm.
No, they put on a show. They show that women are fierce. I can't wait till they start giving them 3-minute rounds, man, to see what they really can do.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right? Like some of these women are on the verge of knocking these other women out, and they're getting saved by the bell. We could 3-minute rounds. I think we're going to see more women get laid out, more knockouts.
Or taking their time and put on a proper performance.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Is it going back to the Hannah Rankin? It's interesting. Who's she going to fight next? And I think Natasha Jonas might be lined up next for her to fight. But I completely sidetracked myself. I was going to ask you, Sheila, about South Africa, because you must have been speaking to someone over there. How are the women over there? And because we know very little about African fighters. I mean, we've spoken to a lot of men from Africa, but very few women in Africa. So what have you learned so far, Sheila, that you can share with us?
Whew. I can tell you this. Women there are not respected. The men can get away with just about anything. And it's made it so much harder for the women, whether on the business side, like Mrs. Malinga and other boxers, they're making it very difficult for them. But when you have women like Mrs. Malinga that is really going through some trials, tribulations, and some challenges, she sees the bigger picture. So she's the voice there, which is actually giving the other women strength to keep going. Mm-hmm. Because there's been a few that's given up because of how they're being treated and not being accepted, wanting to be in the boxing industry. So it's difficult. It really is. It's difficult over there. So my heart goes out. But Mrs. Malinga, she's a strong woman. I have to say that for a lot of the challenges that she's going through, and for her to continue doing what needs to be done in a business matter, a business way, I have to take my hat off to her, because it's a whole different beast over there than it is over here. And we know the boxing industry is a whole nother beast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we've spoken to Nigerians and Ghanaians from West Africa, and it is a tough game to get into, because you're training in more or less concrete bunkers, quite frankly, and right, and so equipment is one thing. If you get yourselves some equipment, that's one thing, but then given the thousands of fighters that are in West Africa, and of which maybe a dozen might rise to the top, it's quite a struggle. So I can't imagine how hard it is for the women in South Africa. to get noticed, to get trained, and then to get noticed, which, as you said, requires an entire team. And we've said that on the show many times. If Tim Witherspoon was here, he'd tell us himself how many people are involved behind the scenes, behind that fighter, stepping through the ropes and into the ring. And a lot of people don't realize that. There's psychologists, there's nutritionists. I mean, there's let alone the actual therapists, let alone the actual trainers. You can go on for at least a half a dozen people, easily a half a dozen people, not to mention those men and women who are in the corners, as well as the medical staff too. That is one thing I have noticed, though, in terms of corners. I see a lot more women these days in corners than I used to.
Oh yeah.
So there must be some I don't know how you say it, acceptance within certain. I mean, whether this is again grassroots, whether this is bubbling up from an organic level, I don't really know. I mean, it's certainly transcending other sports. I mean, all these other sports. I mean, was it recently? Was it the National American Soccer League or whatever it's called? I can't remember what it's called. But they voted to pay women equally as men.
Yeah.
So that's a massive breakthrough in professional sports. I know the women's national basketball players are constantly lamenting the fact that they're not getting paid what they should be getting paid. And yes, when fans start filling arenas, then perhaps they'll have a better leg to stand on. But in the meantime, they have to go play in the summertime in Eastern Europe and other countries where they get paid an awful lot of money, quite frankly, to do the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. So women have been fighting this uphill battle, I think, for a long time, especially in boxing. But I think we have turned the corner. I think that Ebony Bridges fight last year was monumental in changing people's opinions as to, how ferocious women can be in the ring, how determined, how proud they can be in the ring. And put on a great fight for the entertainment of all, not just women. And one day it will be just boxing, not women boxing. Sorry, didn't mean to.
I was all into it. I was so quiet. I was almost relaxed. I was relaxing.
Yeah, right on. Okay. Right on.
The soothing voice of Graham Boyce up next.
Putting my co-host to sleep. Sorry about that.
No, I was just so into what you were saying. Your voice is very calming, though.
Thank you.
You made what you say interesting.
Thank you. I gave Mike Gore a task the other day because he was focusing last week on Japanese fighters. So you want to talk about a tough task? He actually, because he always has Female Fridays. And the task was, could he come out on that show and actually bring us a Japanese top-ranked female fighter? And he did. So, even in, I'm going to say it, the male-dominated society such as Japan, if you think you got a battle in South Africa, they've had a heck of a battle in Japan. And women in the ring are certainly being taken seriously in Japan as well.
Oh. Japan's got, like I said, I did the history. Remember, Japan's boxing goes back to 1926 when their first gym was, solidified. And it's because the guy who opened it up decided to travel over to San Francisco and learn how to box in the early 20s. The early 19s. I think it was 1902, in around there. And, 20 years later comes back and, establishes the first boxing gym in Japan. And since then, they've produced over 30 world champions.
Wow.
And that's just one of the gyms. There is another gym as well, which their gyms are promotion companies. That's the way it works over there. So when you look up the promotion company, it brings up the gym and then tells you a lot about it. There's 2 major gyms in Japan, and they've been producing fighters, near 100 years. So they've been producing champs. They got a great, strong boxing culture over in Japan, and just as many women as men are involved in it. And, I think it's great what they do over there.
And let's not forget about our friends down under, not just New Zealand, but Australia. These guys are picking it up too. There's a lot of women that we're noticing out of Australia, and certainly we've highlighted Miyamoto out of New Zealand several times. So I really think that the champions are emerging, and they're inspiring a lot of younger women And those younger women are going to strap on the gloves, enter the ring, and that's why I say it'll just take a few more years. And when that happens, they will be standing on a solid foundation, and they will be able to fight with the best of them. That England is producing like a solid factory that it is right now.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Japan has a ton of women fighters, and they're all very active and very popular, I must say.
Yeah. We were even we were focused during the Olympics. Was that just last year or 2 years ago? I can't remember. But we were focusing on, for example, countries like India, another male-dominated society, to be blunt, and they have women have a tremendous interest in boxing in India. Fascinating. Certainly led by Mary Kom. She's done a great job of promoting the sport and winning at the amateur level, at all levels. So hats off, and the Philippines as well. You see a lot of women emerging in the Philippines. So yeah, so I think we're looking up, and as a a simple fan-based media channel, I think we're doing really well in exposing a lot of this great young talent, and having people like yourself on board, Sheila, will only grow an audience for women in boxing and the people who support and surround the boxers who enter the ring, from the very young ages to those upper ages. And I don't really know what the upper age is; it's yet to be proven. Because we had the Canadian heavyweight champ do a show for us. He did about 100 shows, Bola, and he was, I think, entering his 50s. I can't remember, but he said there was an actual age limit set down where you could not fight past, I think, the age of 50, professionally, that is, I think. Although Mike Tyson and his League of Legends, or whatever they call it, might be proving me wrong.
Hey, listen. No matter how old Mike Tyson gets, he is still one of the most dangerous men on this planet. He might not be as fast, but he will still tear your head off.
And I approve this message.
Yeah, that's right. Honestly, that guy on the plane got away lucky.
He did.
Lucky.
He did.
Lucky. Honestly, like if it was Mike Tyson from the past, remember? I don't know if everybody remembers. He, did 2 years after he broke some guy's jaw when he got into a fender bender with him.
Yeah,
the guy said some slurs to him, and Mike Tyson just knocked him out. Like he's not that guy anymore, and it really showed that he, that weed's doing him well. That weed is definitely doing him well, because he held back. That guy was literally on him for 20 minutes, like man. I couldn't deal with it. I wanted to punch him out. And then he just got, you know what? But that guy should just go home, feeling nice, because you know what? You got roughed up by the champ, right? Like, there's one for your bucket list. Go home, download that video, show it to all your friends. You got roughed up by the champ. Don't press no charges, nothing. You know what? You deserved it. You're lucky he didn't knock you out.
It was funny when I looked at his face afterwards. It was crazy.
Speaking of Mike Tyson, wasn't Evander Holyfield from Atlanta?
Yes.
Is he still there?
I don't even know anymore, to be honest with you. But he probably is.
His son's fighting in the Northeast, right?
I mean, once you're in Atlanta, you don't normally go anywhere. See, here in Atlanta, I have to tell y'all about our peaches. Our peaches are ripe.
Oh, can you send some up?
Georgia peaches,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, I'm down for some of those.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll love them.
Send me a case.
Give me your address. I got you.
No problem. No problem. I'll give you the address. No problem. Yeah, man. I'll take a case of them.
What's Georgia known for? Peaches and bulldogs, right?
Yeah.
Hey, and producing some great boxers.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
From the ground up.
Yeah.
All right, definitely. Mike, what do you got? You got anything else?
No, it's just it's fight weekend. There's one fight. We're getting ready for it. Guys, don't forget to watch it. Tank Davis. Hopefully his tank's filled. You know what it is. Romero, big fight. Check it out. I got nothing else to say. Sheila, it was really nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Welcome to the team. I know your show is going to do great. I will definitely, I'll definitely push it on my show as much as I can. Direct everybody. I know it's going to be good. Can't wait. Sheila, remind everybody when you're dropping it, when it's going to start.
It's going to start Monday on May 30th at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So you heard that, folks. May 30th, 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Stafford Report. Loving it.
Stafford Boxing Report.
Yes. Stafford
Hashtag boxing. Hashtag boxing.
Hashtag. Graham, it's always a pleasure. I guess we're going to get out
Thank
of here.
you.
Carl, always a pleasure, man. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Scrapbook Boxing as well for the comments. Much love and respect for all the support. Guys, we will see you next Friday. Same time, same channel, new panel, new topics. We'll see you then. Peace.
See you guys.